Welcome to High School Sports on the Harvard Cable Network. I'm Don Morrison. Tonight, my great pleasure to be at Patterson Mill High School. It's the Patterson Mill Huskies taking on the Havre Grace Warriors in girls soccer. I'm privileged to have Mr. Bob Frisch with me. Bob, a veteran soccer player, a soccer official. What is there about the game of soccer that you find so fascinating?
At 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. It's nonstop. There's no taking time for in between plays. It's always engaging. It's from one end to the other, and it's amazing to me to see what kids and players can do with the skills of their feet. Not having to be able to use their hands, but it's just thrilling. And being an official, I tell you, it's the best seat in the house.
Bob Frisch, you were a player at Edgewood High School for Mr. Paul Metzger, a man that we both respect a great deal. You're also a member of the Board of Education not too long ago. Maybe sometimes you don't want to mention that out loud, but did a great job there. Appreciate all that you do for young people. This game tonight, again, Patterson Mill coming in at 4-3. Now that's deceiving. They won their first 4 games. Their 2 senior stars, which we'll talk about in a moment, have been out for 3 games, one with a torn ACL, the other with a concussion protocol. So really a 4-3 record, it's really different than that. Havre Grace 3-3, so they played well this year. The Warriors in those white uniforms, white visiting uniforms. Patterson Mill going from left to right across your TV screen in the teal and black. Should be a great game, Bob.
Yeah, I think both teams have something to prove. It's unfortunate when some of your senior leadership gets injured, but like you say, next person up.
We talked about those injuries. Allie Wysong, who was our senior leader as a forward, got the ACL injury, out for the season. And then their outstanding senior attack person, Izzy Tony, out as well the last 3 games with concussion protocol. So Izzy is back tonight. She's number 19. Be watching her right in the middle of everything. There she is, just whipping on that one ball. Brooklyn Simmons, who is another sub-goalie for Havre Grace. The starting goalie, Cassidy Howes, injured with another ACL back about 4 games ago. So Brooklyn Simmons, who is a freshman, and you know, Bob, being a freshman as a goalie, that's a learning experience, learning on the job.
Yeah, but it also speaks to the confidence that coaches have in order to put a freshman in the goal. It's a lot of responsibility. You are the last person on defense, and a lot of times goalies are making to break the game.
40-minute halves. Breakaway here for Havre Grace. Ewers, the left-footed kick, a little bit wide. Boy, Bob, and you can talk about it as a soccer player. Having a left foot is almost like, it's like gold, because that ball coming up that left side, if you've got the left foot, can turn it. A lot of teams don't.
Yeah, it's actually I'm left-footed, and I played a lot of left wing and a lot of left back. And we try to teach players early on that they need to be able to use both feet, but you always have a tendency to have favorite, and it usually shows in the power on the shot that you have.
And of course, unlike other sports, basketball, yes, it's nice to have a left hand, but you can sort of rearrange. But if you're coming around that left side, there's nothing to do. You have to kick it left-footed, and that is quite an issue for some players. About 3 minutes into the ball game here, no score. It is Havre Grace 3-3 on the season. The Patterson Mill Huskies 4-3. As we said, won their first 4 games, have lost their last 3. So Bob, they're anxious to get off the snide.
That's what I said. It's a game that for Patterson Mill they want to be able to prove themselves that they can come back from having lost a few critical players and be competitive this year.
Patterson Mill winning the 1A state championship back in 2019, and of course that's the last time they played, because as we all know, 2020, no fall sports at all. So this team playing now after having won, you might say the defending champions. Well, that's a nice save. Nice save by Brooklyn Simmons. Nice left-footed. We talked about left-footed kicks. That ball had a lot of steam on it.
Yeah, it actually had some dip to it, so good for the keeper to make sure she stayed or kept her body in front of the ball so it didn't skip through.
Well, you're right. We're on a turf field. That's nice. But, Bob, you know a turf field, that ball can sort of sometimes skid depending on the spin of the ball.
Well, I tell you, it's nice being able to play on it and officiate on it, because while you get some skids every once in a while, you do get much more of a true roll and a true bounce.
We talked about that little mix-up there. No harm done, no foul called. By the way, our officials tonight, you went over and had a nice conversation with the officials, Rich Lawrencette and James Smirnudis.
Yes, actually, I'm familiar with both of those refs, and in fact, James, I'll have the pleasure to work with him later on this year at a game.
They gave me his name, and it's Greek, and I said, well, you know, I can't pronounce that, so they said, just say Smirnudis, and you're good. So, James, if I messed it up, I apologize for that. As we have a moment, let me give you the starting lineup. Caitlin Washko, number 8, the senior, is the attack person right at the top for Havre de Grace. Emily Ewers, Kendall Zimmerman, and Madeline Yost across the front line. Midfield, Haley Sullivan and Lila Vincenti, a name that we're all familiar with coming out of Havre de Grace. Gia Gazdia, another great Havre de Grace name, is in the defensive field. Nice save coming out there, Simmons. Claudia Hudson and Paige Sullivan, again, the defenders. Nice job again by Brooklyn Simmons being in position. You can tell she's going to be under pressure. Freshman. You have to grow up quick, Bob, if you're a freshman playing goalie.
That's true. That's true.
Give you the starting lineup for Patterson Mill. Izzy Tony is that number 19 we talked about, the senior who's back now after being out 3 games. Bob, she had 4 goals and 2 assists in the first 4 games that Patterson Mill had played, and hasn't again played for the last 3 games. Across the front line, Kelsey Price, Ava Wheeler, Claire Darling, Juliet Boucher, Naomi Rich, and Riley Young across the front line. In the midfield, Abby Wysong, Addison Harmel, and Kayla Barr. The goalie again, Caitlin Wheeler. Caitlin is a junior. 83% of the shots she saved, and Bob, that's a good percentage.
Yes, it is. Oh, there we have a good break.
On the attack. Oh, nice job coming out. Just over the goal. Boy, that's a good job coming out by Simmons.
Yes, she actually cuts the angle down and forces the player to actually try to chip over, which makes it more difficult.
And Juliet Bodger was that, Bouger, I'm sorry, the sophomore, number 9. She was the player who had that ball. Looked like she had an open shot at the goal, but Simmons came out and made a difference. No score. We're about 6.5 minutes into the game, 40-minute halves. Of course, the Hartford Cable Network guys, Bob, they love overtime, so I should say 2 10-minute overtime, sudden death, if we are tied at the end. They see, when they see me, they say, Don, can you please have overtime today? They like it. They like it. No, they do a great job. So thrilled to be, part of the Hartford Cable Network crew for, Bob, get this, 28 years.
That's phenomenal.
They keep trying to find somebody else, but I keep saying, no, you can't fire me. I want the job.
You do a great job, Don.
I was hoping you would say that. I had it written out for you just like that. Thank you. Again, we are 7 minutes now, going over 7 minutes into the game. No score. You'd have to say that Patterson Mill has dominated. They've had a couple of shots on goal.
Yeah, they're controlling the midfield at this point, which is allowing their forwards to stay up the field and put pressure on Havre de Grace.
That was Kayla Barr, number 18, you saw just throwing the ball in. Abby Wysong, the freshman sister of Allie Wysong, again the senior who was out for the season with that ACL tear. Bob, it's so tough because she missed her junior year in that nobody played last year, and now she's all set for the senior year, starring, having 4 goals and 2 assists through 4 games, but then her season is done. And I'm not sure what that sound is. It's loud. I don't think it's an airplane. Oh. Inside 32 minutes now left in the first half. Havre de Grace on the attack. It was Haley Sullivan, number 14, the senior. Haley also plays lacrosse. She's in her 3rd year. Haley throwing the ball in. It's Emily Ewers battling for the ball, number 19 for Havre de Grace.
Good movement there.
Yeah, the Warriors showing some strength. Havre started the season with 3 straight wins, or I should say 2 straight. They beat Edgewood 3-1 and Perryville by 2-1. Then they lost to North Hartford 2-1, lost to Bull Manor 2-1, and lost to Bel Air 3-0. Defeated Joppatown 12-2 in their last outing, so they're 3-3 coming in. Patterson Mill, they started again with those 4 wins. Defeated Aberdeen 10-1, Elkton 3-0, Bow Manor 5-0, and Manchester Valley 1-0. Bob, and you know Manchester Valley, one of the great teams in this area.
Yeah, they have an excellent program, and to go ahead and be able to play toe-to-toe with that school says something about your own program.
But it was in that game that the injury occurred to Ali Wysong, and then they lost to Rising Sun in a 2-1 game, lost to Falston 3-0, and then lost to North Hartford 2-0. So you can tell they not only miss Wysong, but they certainly miss Izzy Tony, their outstanding senior attack person. Tony back in the game tonight, and Coach Mike Parker, we'll talk about him in just a moment, very anxious to get his team back on track. Bob, you talk about Mike Parker. Here's a young man who has an overall record of 220, 116, and 8. He won state titles, 3 of them with Loch Raven, and then won a state title last year with Patterson Mill. Actually, 2 years ago, but the last year that they played. Patterson Mill has won the region title in 2015, 16, 17, 18, and 19, and of course didn't play last year. It looked like Justin Tucker there making that field goal. And he didn't have to hit the crossbar.
Just the right bend.
Oh. Unfortunately, it doesn't count for anything in soccer. In fact, it means get your head down. My coach always said, get your head down.
Well, do it well enough. Maybe the football coach take an interest in you.
Very good. Very good. You played back in the 70s for Coach Metzger?
Yes, I did, yes, in the early 70s.
He's very proud that 1971, Edgewood won the first county championship in the history of the school in soccer. Were you on that team?
I was on the JV that year. But I was with in 72 when we won the county.
Yeah.
And of course things were different back then. You know, we see so many of the teams, everybody, they try to encourage and include everybody in the state playoffs. Back in the day, you had one county champion from each of the 24 jurisdictions in the state that competed for the state title.
Yeah. Yeah, now of course you have the 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, which they had then, but now you have multiple teams making it in the region, so you could have 2 or 3 teams from the same county that might make it to the regions. It was in 1982 that Edgewood had the undefeated football season and didn't get to go to the playoffs. A team that had 1 loss back on the Eastern Shore but had more points qualified to be the region representative. And I think that was the impetus when they changed that rule. Here comes Patterson Mill. Nice job by Havre getting back on defense.
Good clear.
Yeah. Just about 12 minutes into this contest, 40-minute halves, as we said, no score. Neither team really threatening on a very close score, although Patterson Mill has had a few opportunities. Happy you could be with us here on the Hartford Cable Network. Bob, we get to cover field hockey and soccer and golf and football. It's just a lot of fun. Good having you along with us here in girls soccer. I wanted to ask you, Bob, you do both girls and boys soccer. What is the difference between the two? Rules, are they the same? How about the style of play?
The rules are the same. All high school soccer is governed by the National Federation. And actually, over the years, there's been sort of a difference between the different levels. You have the USSF has its own set of rules, and you had high school with its own set of rules, and colleges with its own set of rules. And finally, all 3 of those organizations are starting to merge to the point where the rules are virtually the same, which makes it so much easier to officiate.
Oh, yeah.
And it makes it easier for the players and the coaches, because sometimes they don't understand the differences in the rules and how they're interpreted, and it just causes confusion. But this year in particular, they have really tried to coalesce around a single set of rules that just, I think, is better for the whole sport.
That's Ava Wheeler, number 6, a junior. 3 goals and 6 assists, one of the leaders on this team. She also plays lacrosse. Bob, I noticed that a lot. You see soccer players or lacrosse players as well. A lot of similarity between the two sports. Running, aggressiveness.
Yes, being quick on the feet.
Yeah. Our good friend Frank Manzanati says that lacrosse and basketball are the most closely related because of pick and rolls and all the kinds of different plays that those two sports have in common. Good action on both teams. Here comes Juliet Boucher. Remember, Juliet was the one who had that scoring opportunity, but Simmons came out and made the play. Was that an offside call, Bob?
Yes, it was. Just a little bit eager there and got behind the last defender, number 9. And but she'll learn from that. She'll keep her eye on the defender. It's not where you are when you receive the ball. It's where you are when the ball is played.
Yeah. One of the tough calls, me as a non-soccer aficionado, I always wonder that sometimes offside in soccer is a rule that could be done away with. It might open the field up a bit.
I'm a purist.
and soccer aficionados, they look at me like saying, nah, you don't know what you're talking about. Pardon me. Well, nice job there by goalie Brooklyn Simmons. Talk about that. She got real low like a shortstop. That ball could take a bad bounce. And you've seen that, Bob, where something skips and goes by the goalie.
Yep, always get down behind the ball. Make sure your body leaves no gaps.
Juliet Boucher, number 9. And now it's Kelsey Price, number 2. Ball taken away by Havre. Here come the Warriors.
Good shoulder-to-shoulder tackle there.
That's Kendall Zimmerman, number 9, with the ball. Now Emily Ewers, number 19.
Havre putting some passes together.
Yes, they are. Their coach, Barry Ellis, had a chance to talk to Barry before the game. His assistant coach, I won't try to pronounce his entire name, but they call him A-Rod. Coached over in Seoul, Korea. As a shot almost gets to the goal. Haven't mentioned the name of Caitlin Welker so much yet because the Patterson Mill goalie's sort of sitting back there watching the action. Bob, did you ever play goal?
Not in the high school game. I did on recreational level.
I wouldn't want to play that position. The only time you get mentioned is when you do something wrong. It's like an offensive lineman, you know, holding. Yeah, they'd say number 72, holding. When you work your behind off the entire game and never get mentioned.
Well,
so goalies, I know it takes a special breed though, a leader.
Or the fact that nobody else wants to play this position.
There you
get
go.
drafted.
There you go. Have you ever played goal? Well, you're going to now. But you know what? It's a position that requires great skill and leadership because you're facing the defense. You can direct people. You can tell people where to go.
Yeah, you're the last line of defense, and you're the quarterback back there, basically. It's your responsibility to be able to see the field in the widest viewpoint and give direction to your defenders in front.
That was Claudia Hudson, by the way, number 3 for Havre de Grace, their center fullback. Wants to play college soccer. She wants to go into kinesiology. I can't even spell that. I don't know what it is. Exercise science. Yeah, I know what it is. One of the seniors on the team. Both these teams are young teams, Bob. You know, a lot of freshmen, a lot of sophomores on both teams.
Yeah, I think each of these programs are in a bit of a rebuilding phase, but this speaks well for them for next year to get this kind of experience this year, and then be loaded up with some senior experience and leadership going into next season.
And Caitlin Welker, the goalie who just touched the ball, is a junior, so she'll be back next year, all things being equal. They will lose Isabel Tony, who likes to go by Izzy, the number 19, their senior leader, 4 goals and 2 assists. Sub coming in for Havre de Grace. That's Haley Sullivan getting ready to throw the ball in. Haley in her 2nd year playing soccer, varsity soccer. Boy, good footwork there by number 4, Madeline Yost.
Yes.
Madeline is a freshman, so the opposition for the Warriors have that to look forward to for the next 3 years. Bob, we're not sure what that noise is in the background. I'm not sure that folks are picking it up on the field mic. Yeah, we're told it's a school generator. I thought I smelled some fumes.
Yeah, it's diesel fumes.
Oh, very pleasant, huh? The sound and the fumes. Goalie has to make a decision quickly. Do I come out? Brooklyn Simmons does. Very impressed with her, you know, again, as a young goalie, a young freshman. Doesn't seem to be intimidated at all, Bob.
It's not a position where you can be faint of heart.
If you remember playing in school, if you were a freshman, you were just lucky to be maybe sitting the bench. You probably played JV. So a lot of these young people playing, especially at small schools like Havre de Grace and Patterson Mill. Talking to Mike Parker, he has only 17 players on his squad. Come the Warriors now. Looking to try to get something started. We've gone half this first half. No score by either team. No, not any really scoring opportunity for either team. Good job going back on defense. Let's see, for Patterson Mill, that's a sub that just came in, number 12, Elena Joslin, who ran back from midfield all the way to get that ball.
Yeah, so far a lot of play between the 18s, between the boxes.
Probably didn't mention the temperatures tonight, maybe in the high 50s, low 60s, a bit humid. They have been talking about thunderstorms all day long, but thank goodness, I don't want to jinx it, but we haven't had any rain so far. I had to say it, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
And it looks like we might get through this game. Here I go again.
Reminds me of the game that we actually started at
John Carroll.
At John Carroll. I've never seen it rain so hard.
Oh my goodness. And it was like, what, 2 minutes into the game or something?
It wasn't very long. Basically wiped out our transmission, but they continued to play the game.
We did a lacrosse game, we being Frank Mezzanotte and myself at Bel Air. The first play of the game, they came down the field, kid kicked the ball, or I should say, hit the ball at the goal, and a big crack of thunder, boom! And we were done. It was like lightning, we're done. Yeah, in 28 years, we've had some fun. Remember a tennis match that we were doing one day, and it just out of nowhere a cloud came and dumped just buckets and buckets of rain on us. Go back to 1978. Aberdeen High School was playing in the state championship game against Arundel down in Anne Arundel County. Cal Ripken was a pitcher, Cal Ripken Jr. as well as a shortstop, and they were getting beat by a score of 4-1. Sun was out. They were going to lose the game. All of a sudden, a cloud came out of nowhere, like over the field, dumped about, I don't want to say how much rain, but the field was awash. They called the game, and those were the days where you had to play the game from the very beginning if it got rained out. They played it again. Aberdeen won the state title in a situation where they would not have had a chance to win it had that game gone on. I still think that Cal Jr., who has a connection with higher powers, said, hey, how about bring the rain? Because I'm serious, and if you get a chance ever to talk to him, ask him about the game that got rained out that allowed them to win the state title when he was a senior. 1978. Can you imagine? Cal just celebrated his 61st birthday.
I remember reading many articles in the Aegis about Cal.
Yes. Calvin Edwin Ripken Jr. and the Ripken family just so lucky to be, you know, Harford Countyans and to have them as ambassadors for the county. 16 minutes just about left in this first half. No score. Havre de Grace versus Patterson Mill. Two 1A schools. Again, Havre de Grace coming in at 3-3. Patterson Mill at 4-3, having lost their last 3 games without their 2 standout players, Izzy Tony and Allie Wysong. Allie gone for the season. Talking to Coach Parker, and he said that, you know, they haven't done the MRI yet, but the orthopedic person took her knee and moved it and said, oh yeah, we got ACL. But she'll get operated on and do her diligence, and she'll be playing college soccer next year. Still a bad memory of your senior year, Bob, that, you know, you go back to your senior year, you can still remember your teammates and all the games you played?
Yes, I can. Actually, I remember getting injured that year as well, so my senior year wasn't quite as productive or happy as my junior year when we won a championship.
Timeout on the field. Looks like there's an injury, and again, we mention every time we're here that having the athletic trainer who comes on the field to escort the Havre de Grace player off the field, that's Emily Ewers, the sophomore. Looks like she may have hurt a leg and somehow maybe an ankle or a knee. Walking under her own power, which is a good thing.
Yeah, the way she had her leg stretched out, I think it's probably just a Charlie horse.
Yeah, we hope so. But again, back to the day when I was coaching, we didn't have athletic trainers, and it was up to you to be the doctor, the nurse, the athletic trainer. Very nice shot there of the Patterson Mill player. That's Kayla Barr, number 18. Kayla, one of the seniors on this team. Havre de Grace moving the ball. Kendall Zimmerman, number 9. Oh, nice job coming out. We saw the JV goalie, who had never played goalie before for Havre de Grace back in the JV game, come out beyond that line and touch the ball. Oops. So when they got the penalty kick, Patterson Mill, luckily she made a great save, or otherwise she would have been responsible for one of the goals that scored against her. Patterson Mill did win that game. I think the final score was something like 8-1. Here comes Patterson Mill with the ball. The number 6 was Ava Wheeler. Ava, a junior, 3 goals and 6 assists, another one of the lacrosse players. Here, Bob, Jared Clark, who's the athletic director here, didn't mention that they'd be running that generator during our game. I think for good reason. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, we're wearing headsets,
yeah,
so
yeah.
It really doesn't bother us, but I imagine that maybe it's quite loud for the spectators that are here sitting close by.
Mr. Fish, speak for yourself. Those diesel fumes, I think I'm starting to feel like a little woozy, if you will. And I don't mean a good woozy, I mean a bad woozy, if there is such a thing. Brooklyn Simmons again kicking it out, but far be it from me to complain. But I will. Coming up on the 12:20 mark left in the first half. No score, as you see. Really, Bob, neither team with a real scoring opportunity. I think Simmons has made a couple of nice saves. Oh, nice clear.
Havre Grace has been pretty solid across the back, even when it looks like Patterson almost gets it ahead of steam. You got a good pass comes through.
That was Gia Gazdia, sorry, Bob, who made that great clear.
Yeah. Their defenders have been hawking to the ball and making necessary stops.
Battling for the ball. I think another thing that's making it a little woozy is that you see in the background, you see the husky eyes, the dogs. Those eyes in that. That's a little intimidating. What do you think?
Could be.
It's a beautiful facility here. They just got their turf field a year and a half ago. Actually, the last game of the 2019 football season, they actually played a playoff game here as well. So they were the last school in the county to get the turf field, and you know what a difference in terms of the appearance and also the playability. You can play soccer, you can play football, you know, in the same week. It rains, you know, you don't get those muddy you know, situations. Havre Grace.
That is one of the benefits of having these turf fields. I remember that when I was on the board, the Patterson Mill had already been built, but they had made some decisions about their funding to not put the turf field in right away. They had a grass field, and so they basically had to wait in line in order to be able to get this facility, which is obviously fabulous. I walked across the field before the game, and it's just it's wonderful to be able to run on the field. It's got some give to it. In many ways, I think it actually helps avoid injuries.
Yeah.
The game I had earlier today in Delaney, they're playing on a grass field, and you get poor bounces,
yeah.
You get untrue rolls.
Ruts in the field where you can turn an ankle.
On the field.
So, Bob, what you're telling me is that you are totally responsible for this field. You are taking credit for this field being here as a Board of Ed member. Go ahead, Bob.
No,
who's going to know?
I'll try to take credit for some of the other ones that came after, or before this, rather. But
yeah, great job. Yeah, the Board Ed making. I think these fields cost what, $1 million to install?
That's what they were, approximately $1 million a piece. They anticipated the early fields anywhere. Their lifespan was going to be about 10 years. And of course, I know that the very first one at North Hartford eventually needed to be replaced. It had gotten worn, and the technology actually had improved.
Good point.
Since that first field was put in.
Yeah, that first North Hartford field, it was slick. When the dew came down, it was like being on an ice skating rink for the football players, and they were able to replace that field and get, you know, what now is a state-of-the-art, beautiful complex there in North Hartford. So Falston and I guess Joppatown, one of the last schools to get the turf field as well. Inside, 9 minutes now left in the first half. That's Welker, the goalie, switching sides. Very smart on her part. Havre Grace with the interception. Warriors with the ball. That's Lila Vincenti, number 5, who had it a moment ago. Lila with 4 goals and 3 assists. I'm sure she's related to Patrick Vincenti. I'm not sure Patrick, our county council president. The Vincentis from Havre Grace, one of the great families, as is the Gazdia family. Oh, nice job coming out, making that save just at the right time was Brooklyn Simmons.
A little indecision there from her defenders. She had to come out and be aggressive to get to the ball.
Open now. Nice job making the save, kicking it out of there. I think that was Paige Sullivan, number 17, who made that clear for Havre Grace. Yeah, Bob, you know a goalie has to be decisive. You can't say, well, do I come out? Do I not come out? You know, if you decide to come out, you got to do it.
That's it. You don't want to get caught in no man's land.
Yeah. Bob, as a non-soccer, again, aficionado, no score, we've played now 23 minutes. Some people would say, hey, that is boring. How do you, as a soccer person, say, hey, no, you know, you've seen great action here for 23 minutes?
Well, I look at what the players are doing. They're using their skills. So you can tell they're coached well. They're trying to make crisp passes, and they're playing hard. Each of them are challenging. Sometimes for some of the younger players, it's a learning experience.
See, I'm a baseball guy, and I love a 1-0, shutout kind of pitcher's duel. Oh, nice, good job there by Sullivan again. Check me by Simmons making that save.
And that was on frame. You know, it's always that saying: you can't score if you don't shoot.
Yeah.
And while your tendency is to try to get the ball in close, you know, you can't be afraid to hit it from outside.
But back to that analogy with baseball, you've seen a lot of great plays. You've seen every pitch a potential home run. You know, 1-0 game. I'd much rather watch that than a 13-7 error-filled game. You know, I want to see skilled players, you know, applying their trade that way. But soccer, again, if you're somebody that likes a lot of scoring, maybe that's why indoor soccer caught on for a while.
That's what I'll say. If you like that kind of scoring, then indoor is your flavor of soccer.
Chance.
Yes.
Havre with an opportunity, looking to make a pass. Great job there defensively. Again by check it by Kayla Barr, number 18. Kayla senior. Kayla's done a great job on this right side here. Havre with a throw in the offensive area. That's Lila Vincenti to throw the ball in, number 5. Just a freshman. What a nice throw. Good clear by Patterson Mill. The clear, by the way, was by Naomi Rich, number 10, the junior. 4 minutes, 15 seconds and counting left in the first half. No score, nothing. Come the Warriors, looking to keep it in bounds. Bob, so you don't get confused, the gold line is the out-of-bounds line. The ball, unlike football, if it touches the out-of-bounds line, you're out of bounds. The ball has to go completely over that gold line. Is that correct?
Yeah, it should be completely out. So actually, you could have a situation where the bottom of the ball is outside of the bounds of the field, but because it's round and it's circumference, it just hangs over the edge of the line, and it's still considered in.
And again, football, you touch the out-of-bounds line. You know, it's out of bounds. Baseball, I've never understood. They call it the foul pole. It should be the fair pole. Ball hits the foul pole. It's a home run. See, Bob, these are the things that bother me. I lay awake at night and thinking, why do they call it the foul pole? It should be the fair pole. Yeah. Tim says, why do you drive on a parkway and park on a driveway? These are serious questions we need to find answers for. Mark, what do you think? No answer? No, Mark's too busy doing his job, unlike me, sort of gabbing. Simmons up to make the rolling stop. Again, I'll remind you, 8 freshmen had a chance to go over and talk to the Havre team before the game, and you know, they're anxious for this game. Oh my, little collision there, hit from behind. I think they see an upset in the making, a chance to maybe make a statement by coming to Patterson Mill and winning.
Well, they're certainly hanging around.
We did the Bel Air C. Milton Wright football game this past Friday night, and C. Milton came to Bel Air and won. It was a whiteout night for Patterson Mill. They wore, for C. Milton, they wore all white. Even had white shade under their eyes. Very intimidating.
Taking a page out of Penn State?
Yep, exactly. Jared Clark, the basketball coach, athletic director here at Patterson Mill. Simmons with the stop. Wow. That ball was struck solidly. Bob, I guess you'd want to hit it to one side or the other of the goalie, make a move a bit.
That's your preference, but you know, sometimes you just do what you can.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, there we go, onside.
Good job by Welker coming out. No chance to pick it up. She just went out. I guess she was outside the box, so she just booted it with her foot. Again, the goalie can touch the ball as long. Bob, how big is that box that she can touch it?
18 yards deep.
Out of the 18 yards. Oops, that's a handball.
Yes.
Out of the 18 yards, you're just like any other player. You can't touch it.
Yes, it's unfortunate every once in a while I've seen keepers get excited and forget where they were and actually pick the ball up just outside of the box, and of course.
Yeah, I told you we saw that in the JV game. Young lady who had not ever played. Here's a speed demon run.
Keeper coming way out on that.
Oh, there she is. Simmons comes out. Very nice job offensively and defensively that time. Offensively, it was number 9, Juliet Butcher. We saw her make that shot earlier, the shot on goal. Defensively, I'm trying to get her to turn, number 14. And that is the end of the first half. Give credit there to number 14, Haley Sullivan, who ran step for step with Juliet Butcher. Well, Bob, we have reached the half with no score, 0-0. The half has been well played. Both teams with scoring opportunity, especially for Patterson Mill. But again, each team showing a lot of skill.
Yep. I've noticed that the Havre, of course, they're a little short on personnel, and haven't substituted that many players. Patterson Mill's been a little more fortunate to have a deeper bench, and so I'm wondering at what point does the fatigue begin to show on the side of Havre Grace, not being able to give their players some rest during the course of the game.
Well, we have a 10-minute break here at the halftime, so we'll take a break as well. We'll come back with our score, 0-0. Don Morrison along with Bob Frisch coming to you from the home of the Huskies, Patterson Mill. It's the Patterson Mill Huskies hosting the Havre Grace Warriors. We'll be right back. Well, we're back with you just after halftime. It's been a nice, pleasant interlude, especially since they turned the generator off. Oh, not that I want to complain. You know me, Bob, I don't complain. Well, yes, I do. But that was loud.
Yes, and the air is much fresher.
Yeah. We're here again at Patterson Mill. You see the score. You will see the score at 0-0. We played 40 minutes. Very evenly matched so far. I guess you'd say Patterson Mill had the betters of the opportunities, although Havre Grace had a couple of breakaways as well.
Yeah, I think you're seeing more.
Oh, Bob, take a moment.
Oh.
We can talk soccer, but come on.
Precious. Look at the curly hair. I wish I had. Now, I had a kid in my class once who said, "Mr. Morrison, you have wavy hair." And I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah, it's waving goodbye." I failed him. I know that feeling.
I failed him. He was done. That was it for him. Waving goodbye. But anyhow, I interrupted you. You were talking about something serious.
Yeah. Well, I think Patterson Mill has controlled more of the center of the field, and it's given them the greater opportunities to push forward. They've had a few opportunities, some long passes through, been able to split the defense a few times, but the Havre Grace has recovered well. The backs are working very well together, covering for somebody that's maybe lagging behind. And but Havre Grace has had a few good chances here where they've strung some really good passes together. Well, what happens is they get on the front end, and while they're having some good passes up front, because they're having to defend quite so much, then their halfbacks, the midfielders, aren't able to come up and provide a degree of support that their strikers need in order to be able to challenge with some more authority and have some good shots on goal.
Well, we'll switch around now. Havre Grace will be going from left to right. They are in the white visiting uniforms of Patterson Mill in the black and teal. Teal, a neat color. I like teal as a accent color, don't you, Bob? Let's be fashionistas here. Huh? Teal.
Yes.
Football team doesn't seem to think teal is something they want to dress in as much, but I think it's a nice color. I remember when they chose, I was around in 2005 when the school was built, and they chose the nickname and the colors. A little controversial at the time. I was campaigning for Patterson Mill Pioneers. I just thought that had a nice ring for it. They had like an online vote. Pioneers got 4 votes. I voted 4 times. Leave it to say that the Huskies outgunned the Pioneers by a lot. And if I look at across the field and I see those Husky eyes, yeah, I can see that's pretty intimidating. Well, we're underway here at just about a minute, or actually no, 30 seconds into the second half. No score in that first half. Bob, you made a great point about Havre Grace being the lesser in terms of numbers of kids on the school, on the team, and depth, being tired, being worn out, will that become a factor for Havre Grace late in the game?
Well, all I can say is that being physically fit was never an issue with Mr. Metzger's team.
Yes,
so
yes.
I would think he would always say we might get outskilled and we might get outplayed, but we'll not get out hustled.
But here's my question. Did he run with the team, or did he just say, hey, run, you guys, and blow his whistle?
He was very good at giving directions.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Enough said, Mr. Metzger. Tell you, while we're seeing what happens here, nice cross. Ball kicked out of bounds, and that could be another corner kick. I made a stupid rule with my team, my baseball team. For every run that we lost, we would run a lap. Okay, and I said, just to show you, I will run a lap with you. Let's take a moment to watch this corner kick. As you know, this is where a lot of the goals are scored. Nice defensive job by Havre Grace. So after a loss, the next day at practice, before we started practice, we would run a football lap for every run we lost by. And I said, I will run with you. They lost 14-0, Bob. 14-0. Do you know how long 14 laps around a football field is? 4 laps is a mile. Here comes Simmons out. I'm not really good at math, but that's a lot of running.
Taught you, didn't
I did. Yeah, how stupid. I'll run with you. I think after they were down 10-0, they said, let's just tank and let them score 4 more runs and watch the coach die, tomorrow when we have to run laps. Cal Ripken Sr., who was, around a bit during that time when I was coaching at Aberdeen, came around and he said, Coach, how far is it from home to first? And I said, 90 feet. He said, how far? All the way around the bases. I said, well, let me think, 4 times 90, 360 feet. He said, well, how come you got these kids running miles? I didn't have a good answer. Cal Ripken Sr., his famous statement was, practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect.
That's true. It's what you do during the practice. You can waste a lot of time on things that really don't impact the skill sets that the players have to have for the game.
Like running a mile or 14 laps.
Well, there's a place for running distance to create stamina, but soccer for the most part is a sprint sport.
That's true.
And so you're looking at, you have those rare occasions where someone gets ahead of steam at midfield and is going to run 40, 50 yards, but that's pretty unusual. Most of the time your sprints are going to be anywhere from 20 15, 20 yards. And then, of course, the idea is that you're then passing that ball off to the next line.
Yeah.
That has, and they pick it up and carry it forward.
They always say in basketball, and the same is true with soccer, a pass can travel much more rapidly than you can dribble the ball. So, by passing the ball crisply, you get more movement, more openings. Havre Grace looking for that opening. Again, remember, they're going from left to right, so they're shooting at the goal to your right. Good job there defensively. Kayla Barr has played a nice game, number 18 for Patterson Mill. Bob, the air is nice and fresh now. The fall air, the breeze. I'm no longer breathing in diesel fumes.
I love fall soccer.
Yeah. Yeah, if it weren't for winter, fall would be my favorite season because winter's coming. Patterson Mill on the attack now. Looking for that opening. Well, you've got to give the Warrior defense credit. They have just been there. Again, nice job by Simmons going down on one knee, scooping the ball up. Brooklyn Simmons, who didn't start the season as the starting goalie, that was Cassidy Howes, but Cassidy Howes tore her ACL, similar to Abby Wysong. We talked about the Patterson Mill star who tore her ACL 3 games ago, and not coincidentally, they have lost 3 straight games. Add to that the fact, as we mentioned, Izzy Toney, their attacker, also senior, out the last 3 games with a concussion. And Mike Parker, the coach, didn't want to say that, but he said, yeah, having those 2 seniors out, here they come now. Good job defensively by. No whistle. Looked like there might have been a little contact. Bob, what do you think?
Both players going for the ball. Nothing that warranted a foul in my view. Good shoulder to shoulder. Soccer is a contact sport.
Yep. As opposed to football, they call it a collision sport. Rich Lawrence said, and James Smirnudis. James, if I messed up your name, I apologize. Good job there by Simmons. She couldn't take a chance that ball was going to roll out. So she kicked it out. Throw in coming. Another clear by Havre Grace. Addison Harmel. Harmel, I think, Addison. I'm sorry about that. Harmel. She's a sophomore. Number 17. Oh, great defense.
You don't have to steal the ball. All you got to do is keep your player from making the turn.
How to play. Let's see what we're going to say. Is it corner? Yeah, another corner kick. But why is a corner such an opportunity to score?
Well, you wind up bringing the ball in to a position where your players are all running onto the ball. You can redirect it. And you have the ability to control how you want to bring it, low, high.
This is Ava Wheeler, by the way, getting ready to kick the ball in. Ava Jr. already has 6 assists on the year. Sneaky, huh?
Good,
sort of a give and go.
Give and go, that's it. There.
Off the top bar. Oh my goodness, that was a goal.
That was a set play. They actually planned on doing that, and obviously something they've worked on in practice.
Give and go, the old basketball technique.
It almost had eyes. Sometimes we say the ball has eyes.
Hit that top bar. Bob, what is it? Is it 10 feet tall, the goal?
Yes, 10 feet.
So that, obviously, even if you are a leaper, if that ball's up to the top of the net, you're not going to be able to reach that ball. And had that ball been, 6 inches lower?
Oh, just a couple of inches, yeah. It would have changed the angle.
It would have been a Justin Tucker hitting the crossbar, only this time going over. Talking about the Ravens game the other day.
So have the referee coming in to have a conversation with a couple players. They're probably getting a little touchy.
No pushy, no pushy.
A little chippy there.
Here comes, this time it's going to be the straight kick.
Didn't get it up very much.
And it's in, though. The goal is scored.
Wow.
Oh, my goodness, that ball did not get up.
No.
But Havre Grace failed to mark the young lady who was coming to the ball. Let's see. We know it was number 6 who kicked it in. And that was Ava Wheeler. Now, who was the young lady that converted it? Here comes a replay you'll be able to see. Wheeler kicked it in on a low shot, and Bob, as you mentioned, normally you try to get it up in the air. Well, hold on, we may get to see that replay. Didn't get a chance to actually see, Bob, did you, who was able to convert the play?
I didn't see the number. Actually,
technical problem. We'll hope to have that rectified. That goal scores at about 31-10. We know that Wheeler is a young lady who made the assist on that corner kick. Bob, it looked like Havre Grace just sort of relaxed when they saw the ball away from the goal and not high.
It looked like it was a sort of a half volley as well.
I was going to say almost a one-timer where the ball hit the ground and she sort of, on the half hop, was able to boot it in, maybe even with the sole of her foot.
Yeah, it was more of a redirection than actually powering the shot.
And I don't think that Simmons, the goalie, actually even saw the ball because she didn't make a move at it. It sort of trickled into the goal. So the first goal of the game, Patterson Mill up by 1-0. Now, if you are Havre Grace, you obviously want to get this back as soon as you can. If you're Patterson Mill, you know it's a low-scoring game. If you can put another goal on, you can pretty much put this game away. The last several games, Havre Grace has lost. They've lost 2-0 to North Hartford, 3-0 to Falston, and 2-1 to Rising Sun. So they've scored 1 goal in 3 games. And again, we talked about coincides with the loss of Ali Wysong and also their outstanding forward, Izzy Tony. You lose senior leadership, Bob, like that, you know, it's just very hard to replace. Comes Patterson Mill on the attack. Oh, great save. Nice job. She cut down the angle, Bob. Did you see that?
Yes, she protected the post. Actually, it was a pretty challenging shot. It was skipping. It's low. Sometimes those are the most difficult ones to handle. The ones that are up, you know, you can get your hands out in front of you, and but the ones that are low, those are a lot of times the ones where you see rebounds come off the keeper and the goals are scored on the follow-up.
Yeah. Brooklyn Simmons, again, the goalie for Havre Grace, making that save. Here come the Warriors trying to get back in it. Little collision there. Abby Wysong, the freshman sister of Ali Wysong, making that play. Abby has a goal on the season. Of course, it is obviously her first year as a varsity player, being a freshman. Nice defensive play by Havre Grace. And it was Haley Sullivan, number 14, who just ran the player right off the ball. Warriors now got to get something started.
Here you can see here Havre Grace has three players up against 5 Patterson Mill players, and this is their problem with not being able to generate offense or sustained offense.
Emily Ewers, number 19, that player for Havre Grace. Nice redirect there by Patterson Mill. So every time Havre Grace gets something started, Bob, and you said it, they're unable to make the crisp passes. See the Husky player a little disappointed in herself that she didn't get that ball closer to the goal. She being Izzy Tony, Isabel Tony, likes to be called Izzy. Bob, did you ever have a nickname that you can mention on air other than Bob?
Not that I can mention. No, for the most part, I was just called Bob.
Yeah.
Just a little too ambitious on that that pass.
Mine was Scarecrow. Bel Air Bobcats gave that to me. At Edgewood, we had hand-me-down uniforms from the Army. They were flannel. They were made for like grown men. You know, I was all of 5'9", 130 pounds, soaking wet. And I did, you know, look at the mirror. Yeah, Scarecrow. So the Bel Air guys decided to bench jockey and, hey, Scarecrow. Should I mention that I one hit them and then they didn't call me Scarecrow anymore? They called me other things, but not Scarecrow. That was only 62 years ago. It may have been a 10-hitter now that, you know, how time tends to change your memory. Usually for the better. Did you notice that? Yeah. Here comes Patterson Mill. That's Ava Wheeler. Nice job. She sort of balanced that on her head. Wheeler, who had the assist, we know, on the goal scored. Not sure exactly who did score the Patterson Mill goal. Looked like a handball, didn't get called. Hey, what do I know? I'm 70 yards away.
Well, that is one of the difficulties you have with depending on what type of refereeing assignments you have.
It's so funny. Referee turns around and has a conversation with the people in the stands who are saying, "Hey, handball."
When we have two officials, you can see the way that player was facing was away from the far side referee, was screened, and we're not able to see that. And you don't necessarily know that the near side referee was in a position to see that as well. Plus the fact that he's 40, 50 yards away. And you know, it's pretty presumptuous sometimes for the far official to make a call directly in front of the other official.
Yeah, it's not done, right?
Yeah, not very often, unless it's just something that's completely obvious and you think and you know that the other official was screened. Now, you know, sometimes they have a three-person officiating crew. And so what happens then is that the person running the middle of the field, who's the only one with a whistle at that point, is able to stay much closer to play and be able to change their position to see the angles where you have a better view of what's actually happening on the field.
Bob, now you've refereed for how long? How many years have you refereed?
I've been doing that for about 25 years.
Oh, my goodness. That's a long, long time.
Best seat in the house.
Yeah. Sometimes you're not the most popular man in the house, though.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. You have to have a thick skin.
Uh-huh.
Breakthrough in the middle.
Nice breakthrough.
There's the break.
Oh, and Simmons with another great save.
Maybe a little too eager. That shot was outside the arc, so you were already looking at 24 yards or so, and was one-on-one with the keeper. So probably could have taken a couple more touches, forced the keeper to come out and change positions.
Looks like it was Claire Dolling, number 8, who was a young lady. What speed she had, though, coming up through the middle.
Yeah, she made a great cut through and ran onto the ball very well.
This is Wheeler. Just kicking the ball out of play, which is a great thing to do. They've got to throw it in now, get your defense back in position. 1-0 as you see, 22 minutes and change left in this contest. 1-0 the lead for Patterson Mill. They scored at 31-10 here in the second half. And there's your 3-point field goal.
Good strike.
Yep, it was a good strike. Again, Bob, I was joking before about keep your head down, and that is certainly the key. If the head comes up, the ball comes up.
And say, get over the ball.
So Paul Metzger enjoyed running you people, huh? Is that right?
Oh, yes, we did plenty of running.
Yeah.
I remember in particular one game we were playing John Carroll. And while we won that game 1-0, we were and played it at John Carroll.
Chance here kicked us out. Okay, so you win 1-0.
And but Mr. Metzger was not happy with our performance. So the next day at practice, we did wind sprints at the end of the practice, and
he did them with you, right?
Right.
No.
So
I'm just determining that.
I thought actually even though we'd won the game, we played pretty good because that particular John Carroll team had two brothers called Chalminiak, last name, and actually they went and played at the Loyola, it was college at the time, and won the national championship, the college national championship.
And Metzger was not satisfied. You beat him. What's he won, like 10-0? What's his problem? I'm going to see him tomorrow morning, and I'm going to ask him specifically that question. But you still like the guy? I mean, after he treated you that way?
You know, it's Paul and I have become great friends.
Yeah, he's a great man.
Over the years.
Great man.
You know,
and a great coach. He wins the state title '75 with the basketball team, and you know, so when he came to Edgewood, there was no soccer team. He started soccer there as a boys' sports program.
Yes.
And converted it from just a ragtag outfit to the point of winning county titles. It did help in the basketball team that he had three Bradley brothers who played for him. He will admit that having Dudley, Wee, and Charles on the team helped a bit going down to College Park.
Yeah, talent speaks for itself.
Yeah, but you have to have a coach who is a chance for Havre Grace. A coach who can blend that talent and make it work together.
True.
Speaking of that, Mike Parker, we mentioned earlier 2019, and that is the last season that was played here because there was no season last year. Won the state title, Class 1A. That's in this girls' soccer that we're speaking of. Here's Havre Grace with a chance. Maybe this is their best opportunity, certainly of this half.
I think that'll be the key for them. They have to be able to keep numbers forward, be able to try to keep pressure on the Patterson Mill defense.
Nice throw in. Good clear there, good header to clear it by Patterson Mill. Here come the Huskies. Good passing. But Bob, you mentioned before, pass the ball for not just for effect, but to someone. Then defensively, though, Paige Sullivan, number 17, senior, got back and knocked that ball away. Looking for your teammate, that's what they're doing. Again, another great defensive play. That again by Sullivan, Paige Sullivan. Oh, it's so hard to watch the ball down at your foot and watch your teammates where they are.
Yeah, that's...
Here's a shot. Simmons, off her, into the goal! Looks like, try to pick up a number there.
Huskies goal scored by number 2, Kelsey Price.
That is number 2, Kelsey Price with the goal.
Yeah, one of the few bobbles by the keeper there. Ball got away. Initially stopped, but the ball got away from her and allowed for the cleanup.
Boy, give Kelsey Price there. You see her on the screen. Kelsey, a junior, right on the spot to be able to get that rebound, and then didn't panic. Realized the goalie was out of position, just kicked it right in. So now 2-0 to score as Patterson Mill has now scored these 2 goals in the second half. So Bob, if you're Havre Grace, you're certainly not out of the game, but you need a goal here pretty quickly. Yeah,
like I say, don't panic, but they have to change their strategy. At this point, it's doesn't. You're doing well defensively, but you're losing it at the midfield. So it's time to pull the defenders up, and hopefully.
Oh, a chance! Welker with the save. Good job coming out as Caitlin Welker. She hasn't been challenged often, but she's been, equal to the task each time she has. 83% of the shots on goal this year she saved. Pretty good percentage. Also a lacrosse player is the junior, Caitlin Welker. Bob, we talk about 3-sport players and scholars. Boy, it is so tough to play a sport nowadays, because a lot of players play all year long in one sport. In other words, they play club soccer or club, whatever it is, learning and perfecting their skills. So if you're playing 3 sports, during the time they're learning and perfecting their trade, you're playing another sport. Very seldom now do you see a 3-sport athlete who is very good at all 3 sports.
No, the tendency is to identify a sport that you have talent on, and then and stick with that. There's different philosophies on that approach. Is that you get overuse injuries. Players don't develop multiple skill sets, and which in a lot of ways those skill sets are transferable from one sport to the next.
Unless you're going to play college ball, let's say you're going to play college soccer or college baseball, I'm an advocate of play as many sports as you can, because again, you get different coaches, you get different teammates, you get different experiences. So as you get older, like I am, and you look back and say, well, I'm glad I availed myself of all the opportunities in high school. But my point being is, you're playing every day, you're practicing every day, you've got homework. It is a tough thing to play 3 sports, to play continuously from August 15th till, June 15th, if you will.
Well, then there seems to be, at least not from now, and when I was growing up and when you were growing up, a lot of these players, they're also playing on club teams.
Yes.
They're playing on travel teams
Right.
away from their high school sport.
Well, that's a nice center. Welker comes out and makes the save. Havre is just not able to get a good foot on it. Yeah, it is. And of course, I mean, there's a social aspect of being a kid. You don't want to just, be playing sports all the time. You've got, the chance to grow up as a teenager. But I admire the 3-sport athlete who, goes from one sport to the other and is good at each one. And especially when you can keep that all-important grade point average where it needs to be.
Well, that's it. I mean, the days of, for the most part, you just being a good athlete and that's enough to get you a scholarship anymore. There's a whole process that goes into getting scholarships, athletic scholarships, and a lot of that has to do with your academic ability to be able to actually be successful at college.
Gia Castillo on that play, and she was very smart. Didn't kick it over the end line, kicked it out of bounds, meaning it's a throw-in and not a corner kick. Really impressed with Castillo's play tonight. Headed for Mount Olive University, wants to major in chemistry with an idea of going into pre-med. Not bad, goals there. I had a goal of getting out of high school. That was my motivating factor. Graduate.
I'm always amazed. I've had the opportunity to attend the Alcesky Awards over the years, and to see those athletes who are recognized during those award ceremonies, not only for their prowess and their skills and their accomplishments on the athletic field or court, but what they are doing academically, what they're doing. Oh my.
Yeah, just a little too far. Good job by Welker to come out and kick it away. And of course the Charlie Riley Foundation, which does a similar thing in the spring, I guess. I think the Sesky Bank, no, maybe theirs is in the fall, and the Sesky Banquet is in the spring. So those two great organizations, Al Sesky, the great football guru at Bel Air, and Charlie Riley, who was a great first responder. Foundations being set up in both cases to give back to kids and give scholarships. Two great organizations. Speaking of great organizations, the Edgewood High School Hall of Fame getting ready to induct their 2021 class, coming up next Thursday as we do this on a Tuesday, the following Thursday. 10 very worthwhile and worthy inductees coming up. Two teachers, John Lowe and Tom Konjerski. Jeannie Quinn, who was the The hairdresser in Edgewood who just did so much to help the school. And then 7 alumni. So it's the Edgewood Hall of Fame does not only alumni, but it also does former staff and community helpers. Really excited about that event coming up.
Your community helpers are as much a part of your school environment and the success of programs at schools as are many times the staff and the students. They bring so much support.
Yeah, and they're not being paid. They don't have kids in the school, so it's not like they're, you know, doing it to benefit the kid. It's just out of sheer community mindedness. Havre de Grace now coming up on the 11-minute mark. Need to get something started, down 2-0. There's nothing at the half. Huskies on a 3-game losing streak. Obviously, they would love at home here to break that losing streak, to get back to, you know, they won their first 4 games in a row and then lost 3. So a win tonight against a county opponent. Their wins against Aberdeen, Elkton, Bow Manor, and Manchester Valley. And then their losses, Rising Sun, Falston, and North Hartford. Subs coming in. You made mention of that, Bob, that Patterson Mill has enough players that they can do subbing. Havre de Grace, not so much.
I'm seeing, yeah, actually in Havre de Grace, I'm seeing several other players standing with hands on hips, which is usually an indication of fatigue.
Yeah. We wondered about that. At what point might they wear down with all this action for 40 minutes?
Oh, nice pass through. Oh, my.
Oh, nice save.
Almost. It's a good thing. Good defense to stick a foot in there and redirect.
And that was Abby Wysong, number 13, the freshman, who stuck a foot in there and stopped it. You know, Bob, they've gone to quarters in field hockey now. They used to play halves, and I think the officials were telling me just for that purpose that, you know, the stamina and how hard it is on the player to continue playing for an entire half, 40 minutes. So instead, by dividing it into quarters, you get a break, you know, 4 times.
We've
or maybe 3 times if my
we've certainly, you know, been. Everyone needs to be aware, and it's a great emphasis on the health of our student athletes. And in soccer, we have, especially on those warm days and where there's extremely high humidity, that we've taken to the habit of stopping halfway through a half, just to make sure that everyone gets a water break, a little water rest, get hydrated.
Yeah.
And so while we're not playing quarters, it's not officially, as circumstances and weather dictates, we're taking care of our athletes.
Well, speaking of that, and we're so happy that, you know, school is back in session, in-person schooling. Last year, you know, the virtual schooling, yeah, I mean, sure, they did the best they could, but it's nothing like having a kid in class and having, as we look around here, there's probably maybe 150, 200 people on a Tuesday night, you know, attending this game. So it's good to see parents and friends and brothers and, you know, cousins out watching the game. Nothing like high school sports. Brings the community together.
Well, and it's also nice to be able to see. Okay, just outside the box.
Yeah, yeah.
Very close. It's good to see, you know, other sports have it. I mean, you know, for me, the only nighttime activity in sport was football. It was Friday night football.
Yeah.
And I remember that we played one of the very first night high school soccer games in Hartford County. And it was a big deal. It was just tremendous, and it's so nice to see other sports have an opportunity to be, you know, out here in the evening. It's different. It just really is. It has a different feel to it as you're playing a daytime game versus a nighttime.
Sure is. Hey, Riley, hold that thought. Riley Young, number 20, about ready to kick this one. Bob, does this ball have to touch a defender?
No.
No, it can go in.
Kick.
Oh, there's your goal.
Nope, just missed.
Oh, it did miss. It missed on the side.
Just wide.
Oh, the eyes deceived me. It looked like it was within the net. Good opportunity there as Riley Young kicked it in. Bob, you made the point. It could have gone in straight from that point, unlike field hockey where it has to be touched by, a defender or another offensive player to go in. Yeah, but you could kick it anywhere in soccer from the 50-yard line and it could go in and be a goal.
That's the only goal I scored in my entire high school
I
career.
knew that. That's why I said it. No, come on now.
That's
you
it.
Kicked it from 50 yards?
It's one of those lucky things.
What are you, Justin Tucker now? What is the deal?
No, I was playing defense. I just happened to catch the ball just right, and the keeper made a mistake and came out too far. It sailed over his head into the net.
Oh, is there a film on this, or are you just making this up?
No, it's true. Of course, we lost the game.
Oh, is this like my one-hitter against Bel Air that they were calling me Scarecrow and then they couldn't do it anymore? No, I'm sure it was. Well, that's great. Was that when you were a senior, or?
Yes, that was
wow.
senior. It was up in Northeast.
But you still lost.
Yes, we did.
But not because of you. You scored a goal.
Yeah.
You were a defender. Is that was your job?
Yeah, my senior year, I had pretty much, junior and senior, I moved from playing defense. And of course, my senior year, we actually had lost a lot of senior talent the year before. That's when we won the county championship. And so Mr. Metzger had a lot of sophomores and juniors on the team.
A rebuilding year.
Yes, it was.
The only trouble with being a rebuilding year is if you're a senior, hey, this is it.
Right.
I don't get to come back next year. Oh, nice job. Good job by Brooklyn Simmons. Brooklyn with 2 ends, by the way, if you're wondering. Freshman goalie. Been under pressure pretty much all night, but she has really come through very well. Replacing Cassidy Howes was a sophomore. She was a starting goalie that we mentioned before had torn the ACL and so pressed into duty. Didn't get a chance to talk to Brooklyn and ask if she had been a goalie or was just pressed into duty by, like you said, Bob, hey, we need somebody to play goalie. How about you? Another nice job defensively. That's sort of like in the 5th grade when you didn't know the answer to the question and you sort of try to put your head down and hope the teacher would not see you. Like maybe trying to find that hole to disappear into. But as a former teacher, you always looked for those kids, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Because you just wanted to embarrass them. No, not true. My favorite Billy Ripken story was when Mrs. Tobin asked him, using a theorem that they were teaching in geometry, to come up with the distance between home plate and second base. And Billy, that was his assignment for that night. So of course he didn't do it, Billy being Billy. So 5 minutes before the class, he was at lunch and he called his dad and said, "Hey, Dad, how far is it from home to second?" 127 feet, 5.5 inches, whatever it is. So he comes to class. Miss Tobin said, "Mr. Ripken, do you have that answer?" "Yes, teacher, I do. 127 feet, 5.5 inches. Very good, Mr. Ripken. Would you like to come to the board and show how you got that answer?" Billy said, I said, "No, 5 minutes ago I called my dad."
Well, he was honest about it.
Billy was always a card. He was quite a character. And now it's just, I think, maybe I'm biased, but he's the best thing on MLB. I never want to miss Billy when he's, because he is so smart and like his dad is able to explain things. It's almost like I'm hearing Cal Sr. when I'm hearing Billy talk. Played, 12 years in the major leagues?
Great combination, he and
Double
Cal.
play with Cal. Again, I'm biased, but I think the best double play combination the Orioles ever had was the Ripken brothers. But just inside 3 minutes left in the game now. Havre de Grace down by 2 goals, looking to try to score 2 in a hurry if they can. Meantime, Patterson Mill, as we said, looking to break a 3-game losing streak. Get back on the winning side. They'll go to 5-3 if they hold on here in the last 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Havre Grace would go to 3 and 4. Here come the Warriors now. They need a goal right now. Nice defensive job. Ball out of bounds. That was Addison Harmel who came back and made that stop. Inside 2 minutes left in the game. Nice center. Kayla Barr with that breakup. Well, Bob, you mentioned, will they run out his team? You know, they are still hustling. Maybe they're reaching down for those last bit of energy they have. 80 minutes of running back and forth. Minute 30 left in the contest. I apologize, we have not been able to find out because we're nowhere near the scores table who scored that first goal for Pattersonville. We know that Wheeler assisted, Price scored the second goal. Ava Wheeler we're talking about, who was the assist person on the first goal. Yeah, we're thinking the booth is telling us, our booth, that we think that Price may have been the scorer of that first goal. Unofficially, thank you there, Truck. Kelsey Price, the junior, who had no goals coming into the season, has at least one, and we think unofficially 2 goals here tonight. Ava Wheeler, who had 6 assists coming in, has now 7. 30 seconds left in the contest as we wind down. Hope you've enjoyed this. Again, Jared Clark, the final save there by Simmons, the athletic director. I want to thank him for his hospitality, and thank you for watching. Thank both coaches, Barry Ellis and Michael Parker. And of course, thank the young ladies for putting on quite a show here tonight. And Bob, first, thank you for rushing all the way from your game that you officiated to come here and be my partner and keep me straight and let the fans know what's going on.
Oh, I wouldn't miss this. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and Don, I appreciate the opportunity. I really do.
Well, our final score, 2-0. The Pattersonville Huskies win. They go now to 5 and 3 on the season, break a 3-game losing streak. The Havre Grace Warriors do go down to defeat. They're now 3 and 4. Been a good contest. Both teams played well, played hard. Again, we gave Kelsey Price credit for both goals. Ava Wheeler for the assist on those 1 goal. And the other, of course, Price made on that rebound that came off the goalie for the score. So that is our final. It is the Pattersonville Huskies winning by 2-0 over Havre Grace. Don Morrison for my partner Bob Frisch. Good night, everyone. Have a great one.